All right, we are on air. It's Thursday, August 9th. This meeting is a check-in on active development tasks for Backdrop CMS. Before we get into what we should be working on, I want to say a quick welcome to Owen Morrill, who has ported the menu first child module or is currently working on it. And also to a handful of other fantastic new contributors who showed up in our queue over the past few weeks, including Kevin Craps and Alex Spinarm and Kevin Lanning. So lots of exciting new people being involved. Since last week, we have a couple of new contributed projects. The Google CSC module has appeared, and override node options is a module that had been ported for a while but wasn't showing up on the module installer because its release hadn't been properly packaged. There was a point in time when package manager had an issue. So that's showing up under this week's releases, but it's actually been there for a while. Just fixed now. Okay. Website-related development tasks. So these are, for Backdrop CMS, is websites. The one we want to talk about today was the translation server. So Olaf, I think you've been doing some work on that. Do you want to jump right in?
Just now?
Yeah.
Okay. As some of you know, I worked last year on the translation server to set up a translation server for Backdrop. And I did that because I need it as a German user and because at the moment and for a long time, you have to use the Drupal localization server to get some foreign language files to translate Backdrop CMS. And this information is in the installer. And I think that's not a good situation. Also because a lot of language strings are changing in Backdrop, and there are new strings and so on. So the old Drupal files don't help us so much. And yeah, I started this work last year, but then I had other things to do and so on. So, and we had also some difficulties, technical ones. So, but now I decided to start over in this month, and just in time arrived Robert Garrigos and offered to help me. So I was very lucky, and we began to work on it. He set up the translation server on his own server as a test site, and made a lot of tests and configuration there. And we already made some progress, including installing the organic groups submodule for the translation server and so on. So I'm quite optimistic that we get the server running yeah, in August or September. And I think that's all at the moment. We will update the meta issue. I can post the link to it because it's quite hidden, because it's not a core issue now, but so I'm posting it here in the chat. It's not the core issue queue, but the issue queue of the localization server. And maybe some people don't find it immediately. And I've posted this link also now a few minutes ago on the website of the localization server, so people are better informed what the status of the server.
So this server is a D7 server, D7 site, right?
Yeah, that's a Drupal 7 site. I guess, yes.
The one that we have in localize.backdropcms.org, is that our effort to port required modules and do that in Backdrop?
We have ported one module, the language extractor module.
Cortex?
but yeah, Podex, but the rest not at this time. And I think it would be a lot of work because it's really a big module. I can't actually evaluate if it's possible, but I think it's not so easy. So long term we could do that, but I think at the moment we should not focus on porting this thing.
Yeah, sure. We shouldn't hold up the translations themselves.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm quite optimistic when I and Robert focus on this work for a couple of weeks. We get this running, but still, help is also welcome if someone is interested. Yeah.
I'm always interested in helping with translating into Greek.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I never seem to find time, or I get drawn to core issues.
Yeah, I
guess
see
I'm more interested, yes, in fixing things, UX things. So that's what makes everybody happy.
Yeah. So I have also 1 or 2 questions. So we have the Podex module and quick sketch. What do you think about automating the language extraction? Because at the moment we would have to do that for every release manually. I think we could do that also for a few releases, but long term or midterm, it would be interesting to automate it during the release process, that these files get extracted, all the strings, automatically.
Yeah, it would be really nice. That's my that's my take on it. Yeah,
we can start by adding a task for it in the release template so that we don't miss it.
Yeah,
that's the first step. We can ask the test to do the step to do it manually, but is there a ticket for automating that? Do we have a ticket?
I think it's somewhere in the issues which I made, so I will look at it.
Okay.
And just worry about initially do it just for backdrop core, you think? Well, I mean, we can have, I mean, you can use POT, the translation extractor on any module.
Yeah, I know,
but yeah, maybe for starters, we just start maintaining the core strings as a matter of the release process. Like literally, like we'll still do it manually, but we'll just make it a checkbox as part of all releases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems like a pretty good compromise for the time being, and then work on automating it, because we definitely can. But yeah, it just requires some effort. I'm also not sure if it should be part of the packaging or if it should be reactive, like like we could have on the translation website instead, we could just say like check for updates and like make a button or something like that pulled from the latest releases of modules rather than something that pushed to the translation server. It'd probably be simpler to do the polling based system rather than one that is built into the packager.
We can have a cron running that thing.
Right. Yeah, that would work.
Yes.
Jen, would you like to add that thing as in the template as a tick box so we make sure that we do it?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. And feel free to assign it to me.
And the other question where we could need some feedback. So we have also an issue about building a community for translations and single groups for the languages. And I was asking me how these groups will discuss translations, because on the translation server you can suppose translations and accept them, but that's all. So there's no comment section or forum. And so I talked with Robert about it, and he said, yeah, a lot of groups on Drupal had separate forums, but now some tend to use Telegram and so on. And so I think we could need some ideas. Also, if at the end every group decides it for itself, but just to make some proposals for people who are interesting to.
I think that since we're starting from scratch with these groups at the forums, we have the forums now.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do it in the forum.
Yeah.
Can we do groups in the forums?
We can do topics.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if the topics can have subtopics. Then we can have a topic about translation and then subtopics for its language.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I will evaluate that option if it's really a good platform, but because I think there will be a lot of issues. So we have 5,000 strings or even more. And so it's good to have a platform which can manage a lot of single discussions.
You mean discussions on specific strings, how they should be translated in its language?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. It makes sense.
Yeah. So I think we don't have to discuss each of the 5,000 strings, but some of them. So yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for the update, Olaf, especially Robert helping you out with the translation server. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Let's see, Jen?
Okay. Well, anything else about translation we should talk about? If not, we should move on to Backup CMS project progress, which is Nate.
Okay. All right. So we always talk about the bug fix release that we're currently on, which is 1.10.2. We still have this database credentials about URL encoding open. Still needs work on that particular issue. I did do a fair amount of reviewing and merging of bug fixes and minor UX functionality this week. So we've got another half dozen or so issues that have been merged in that are queuing up there for the next bug fix release. But we still don't have any large issues or anything on the horizon that will prompt a bug fix release in the immediate future. So 1.11 is the next minor release, and that will be coming out September 15th. So we've got, let's see, it looks like 22 days, 23 if you count the first, of development still available during feature thaw, I guess, if you will. Feature freeze happens on September 1st with the release following 2 weeks later. And we still have a good bucket of things that we're churning towards completion on, and we'll run through all of these. So the first one up is contact module improvements. Opie is still leading the charge on that. Gregory, I saw you and him like ping-ponging back and forth to get a lot of those things marked RTBC this past week. That was awesome. We merged in 3 more contact module improvements in the past week, and there's 2 more issues that have code open for review. So far, let's see if I can pull this one up. The meta issue is 3023 that lists all of the issues that are currently in progress. Well, it looks like we've gotten 5, maybe 6 of them completed, a couple more that are in needs review, and 1 that is RTBC. So thanks again, Opie and Gregory, for the work on contact module. That seems like that's really moving along very quickly. Color module, issue 1905 is a meta issue for color module improvements, but in particular, the issue that we're seeing a lot of progress on around color module is 3186, which is a new settings form for specifying color palettes for themes. As of last week, we were kind of stuck about what to do with this spectrum JavaScript color picker library. But per last meeting, we decided just to pull out that color picker library because we weren't sure about having two color picker libraries in core at the same time. We pulled that out, made it into a separate issue, and the pull request now is just the revamp without Spectrum, and it is ready for review right now. So thanks, Joseph, for redoing that pull request. That one is back to needs review. I haven't taken a look at it yet, but it looked really good in previous passes. So if Spectrum is just removed, I think that we're probably really close on that particular issue. I do always like to call out as well that color module support was added to Basis in 1.11 as well. So that's pretty exciting. The 1-2 punch of a new UI for color module and Basis supporting it out of the box makes it a lot better for the 1.11 release. Next up is node preview, which is 3062. I didn't actually pull this one up to review it before the meeting. Any of you guys have or are aware of any updates on 36 or 3062?
Not specific updates, but again, it was decided that we do not try to make the ribbon work with submit buttons, as in incorporating, and then if any contrib module at the moment implements additional buttons, then it would have to deal with that fact that it needs to add the buttons in that ribbon. And I think we're basically unblocked. The only pickle there is that we left the styling as being mimicking the 7 theme for the ribbon, when in reality we should have something neutral, because someone might have chosen another theme for the admin theme. So this is one bit where it doesn't have to wait or be blocked on that. We can decide we can have a follow-up ticket, but I think that one is ready for a second review.
Okay, yeah, it looks like there's actually a lot of activity that was happening this past week. So that's awesome. Yeah, it looks like Dr. Beaumont's calling out basically, some CSS assistance would be helpful on that. Not a technical problem, but literally just, some styling to kind of get to the final version of that. But looks like that, is also really closing in towards completion. I know we've had a couple technical reviews and they've been good. And then a lot of testing in the sandbox. So it looks like, that is really coming along. Wow.
This was closely related to ticket 566. I think that's about introducing a sticky submit button ribbon in the actual admin backend. And I think one of Doc Wilmot's comments in the ticket about the node review was that if this ticket lands, then we can look into just incorporating the two or making it be the same thing. I'm not sure. Just anyway, thought it's worth mentioning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There'll be probably quite a few follow-ups if this one lands, but I think everyone is in agreement that it's really good to make progress, iteratively, and then continue to polish things as we go along. Let's see. Okay. Next up is automatic core updates. And automatic core updates is something that we'd like to move forward towards, although it looks like, this being part of 1.11 seems pretty unlikely. The part that we would like to get complete is making it so that you can at least update Backdrop via the user interface. The same way that you can update contrib modules, you should also be able to update core itself. That issue, 3105, is stuck on the current implementation not being compatible with authorized.php. And so we're discussing or continuing to discuss if we could just simply remove authorized.php, because conceptually authorized.php is not compatible with automatic updates because it interjects a user step in order to request credentials, which would make it so that it couldn't actually be automatic. So we're continuing to solicit feedback in 3208 about removing authorized.php. It looks like amongst those that have commented, nobody is opposed to the removal of authorized.php. Either people think that the trade-off is worth it to get automatic updates eventually, or well, most people aren't even aware of it in the first place. And those that are not interested in automatic updates say they're not affected by it because they don't use the user interface to do updates in the first place. So basically the two separate paths there are: you could get automatic updates or updates to the UI if the permissions are set to allow that, or if you want to have a more secure permissioning system on your file system, then you would update via the command line or manually via FTP anyway. So or via a version control system like Git. So I think that we're kind of in a good place of compromise there between those two options.
Something worth mentioning, I just searched through the issue queue for authorized.php because there was a ticket that was filed recently 2 days ago by Laren, which was about a UX issue presenting the run database updates step after you update a module via the UI. So I tried to see if I could fix things, and it led me to some functions that are actually in either mentioning or in authorized PHP. That's the ticket was 3245, and then also now searching for authorized PHP brought up the ticket number 2271, which says authorized PHP should be used for all installer module downloads and installs, which is an older ticket filed by you, Nate.
Yeah, that's the alternative, is that back then when we added project installer, it seemed like we should add support for authorized.php to installer module, but obviously if we remove it, then we would close that issue.
Yes, exactly. Or at least take a look, consider that issue while removing it. Anyway, thought I should mention that.
Yeah, I did a run through the code base for authorized.php to see everything that it's used for, and there's actually a lot of code related to authorized.php. There's this entire system for like a plugin based system for how you would like to do the installation, and there's two classes, the FTP class and the SSH class, for like doing the installation of authorized operations. I think that the ambitions of authorized.php were pretty grand when it was created, because it actually it's a lot of code. But yeah, I don't think that many or any of those ambitions were actually realized. At least not that I've seen.
The reason why I mostly mentioned that is that because in the previous dev meeting it was like, oh, it should be easy, we just remove it, and it shouldn't be much work. But that's the main reason, that it might still be not that much work, but there's a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of things that will be removed.
Yeah, and we'll see how bad it is. Like what we'll probably end up needing to do is not actually quote remove it, but deprecate it kind of across the board, and then stop using it inside of installer, like just remove our calls to it, and then just require the permissions be set in a way that is writable, and then remove all of that stuff later, because there's probably 40 or 50 functions and several classes and all kinds of things.
We could move some of them out of that in preparation of deprecating it, but the whole change, the more that I look at it from a high level thing, the more it seemed like a 2.0, the actual removal, the 2.0 task, rather than doing it now. But we could start with moving functions around if we deem appropriate.
Yeah, and adding deprecated, the at deprecated onto every single one of those authorized functions. Yep. Okay. Well, that's that would probably be a great starting point. Actually, I also kind of like the deprecating thing because that basically allows us to move forward with implementation, anticipating that it will be removed. And if someone comes along and says, I have the most amazing use case for authorized.php, and here's how it's going to support the users of Backdrop and their audience, and we should keep it, then it'll be a lot easier to quote put it back.
Or reuse it. Actually, we're not going to remove it, so we're just going to start reusing it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Can we introduce a setting that's like I'm an automatic updater and I want to disable authorized.php, and then say if they have the setting, stop calling these functions?
Oddly, or not so oddly, there's already a setting in settings.php for allow authorized operations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's set to true by default, that allows authorized.php to be used.
So that has there's no corresponding JSON setting for that. It's only in settings.php.
It's only in settings.php. Yeah.
So if we just introduce an admin form as part of the update form that says, if you want to do automatic updates, you have to turn this one off and then set a corresponding JSON setting that corresponds to that.
I think that we'd be probably fine just turning it off across the board.
Just make the default.
Yeah, and actually not even turning it off by default, but literally removing that functionality that uses it from the user interface, but leaving behind all the APIs.
Just mentioning that if we could expose it as a JSON setting and it was config, once we have telemetry in place, we would be more confident to remove it or not?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we don't have to do it now or at all. I'm just saying it's an idea.
Okay. Well, for now, I think
or maybe
authorized.php and then making it so that it doesn't get used as part of the update process would unblock 3105, which is the core updates issue, because we need to get it out of the core updates process in order for that system to work, or at least currently that's the holdup that we have there.
But 3105, does it have to do with authorized PHP? Because I think we tested it because it's not automatic. You do it manually by clicking a button. And so as I understood, that should work without changing authorized PHP.
If your permissions are the way it's happy, then it works. Otherwise, authorized PHP injects itself into the flow.
And then it breaks, doesn't it, Jeff? I thought that was our current issue.
I think it breaks. That Gregory surfaced that. I didn't actually test.
No, but that turned out that was another problem, not?
It depends on your file permissions.
Yeah. The other thing is, see how we, when we perform module installations, we say that there's a checkbox and says perform the updates or the installations in maintenance mode. We can have something equivalent, but not the checkbox, as maybe a warning or something, and we automatically disable it if that's a thing. Like, in order to run automatic update, we don't ask for permission. We just notify people that if they continue, this is going to happen. Well, I'm not sure.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I misread it, Olaf. You're right. That looks like, according to the report that Gregory filed, that it wasn't actually related to authorized.php. But oddly, without authorized.php, it does work, and with it, it doesn't. So even though it's not directly related, authorized.php surfaces another existing problem, it looks like. Okay, well let's move on from this one, just so that we can get through the rest of the items within an hour. Let's see, other issues that we're also working on. Issue number 37. This one still is kind of dwindling in purgatory. Tags for modules, or revamping the modules page to make it so that you can have, in addition to categories, also tags for modules. And this one got re-rolled, but at the same time it removed categories, which I think we decided not to do. And so we're kind of in this holding pattern where the current pull request is too ambitious and the previous pull request doesn't go far enough, basically. So we need some additional work there in order to implement that with just adding tags to modules and not removing categories. Better statistics tracking is issue 285, kind of the one Gregory brought up earlier this meeting about collecting telemetry data about how people are using Backdrop. We've been mentioning this one since the start of the 1.11 release cycle, but at this point it's still kind of pie in the sky, like conceptual phase. Probably not something that has much of a shot for the 1.11 release.
Yeah, I agree.
It might be good if we bumped that one actually and took it off from our list, at least up until 1.12.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, last two issues. This one that was supposed to be kind of minor, but it's been dragging on for a while. Automatically rotating images when they're uploaded, issue 2887. And that one has been re-rolled in the past week by Graham72. Thank you again for doing that. It needs review. It was really close last time I looked at it. So now that it's been addressed, that one is probably inching towards completion. And rich text editor file upload, issue 3134. This adds an image browser to the rich text editor dialog for inserting an image. It's been re-rolled again and needs review again. And the current desire is in that issue, there's some UX problems that when the image browser shows up, transitioning between the image browser showing up and disappearing, there's been requests to make that look smoother and also to recenter the dialog after you switch off of the image browser, because right now it kind of moves your dialog to one edge of the screen. I've volunteered to just add some minor changes to the pull request to make that happen. But that one also is looking really good. There's been a lot of activity this past week on that issue as well. So hopefully I'll be able to make the changes to make those small UX changes, and then everyone will be happy, and we can get that one moved in as well. So actually, from the items that we pull out here, contact module has been continuously being improved since the beginning of the release cycle. Color module has got some substantial improvements, and it looks like it's going to be completed. Node preview looks like it's got a really, really good chance of being completed. Some updates maybe on automatic updates, at least maybe authorized.php. EXIF data, that one for sure will be completed. And then the file upload, the image browser in 3134 looks like it also is in really good standing. That's really exciting. And we still have 3 weeks. That's pretty good for us.
And we might knock the coding status thing fixing for every module, which is not going to be end user features, but still, if we manage to do that, that'd be good. There's one issue that is bumped to 1.12 that I would like to bring to your attention, guys. It's 2632. It's the one about fieldable file entity bundles. So Doc Wilmot has been doing some work. There was a really big review from me, many issues. My question is, I know it's bumped for 1.12, but if it is in a shape where it adds stuff in and there's no breakages and what has been added is complete, can we sort of like partially merge what's there and then iterate?
Even though it doesn't, would it not have any end user effect?
Yeah, well, it would, because in the state that it is now, so how this, one of the issues that were brought up in this was that a user was trying to achieve something. They filed a ticket using views. I can't remember the exact feature now, and they couldn't find a feature that was available for the respective module in D7 that was supposedly merged in core, and it had to do with C tools as well, I think. Anyways, the thing is that in the state that the pull request is now, it adds that feature in. So I know this sounds very vague, and I'll try to be more specific. Yes. So if you scroll to my previous to last comment on that ticket, you'll see that there were view modes that were missing from the drop down of when you would select rendered file, for example, for the format.
Mm-hmm.
And this pull request adds them back.
Oh, interesting.
So there is benefits for the end user, even though halfway. So Jen made the mistake to suggest me as doing the review, and then I filed a review that it's like, I don't know how many scrolls down. And Doc Wilmot has done his best to fix more of it. And 10 hours ago, 11 hours ago, he says ready for round 2. So he might have fixed more of these issues. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I'm really glad you did bring it up, because I know that there was this issue. We mentioned it a couple of meetings back, but it wasn't in the template, so it got dropped off. Well, I mean, we always say it's like even things that aren't in the agenda are always fair game for inclusion. We just need to, make sure that they get the review that they need before they go in. So, I mean, if we can get it completed, then yeah, it's totally fair game.
The review that I did was not code-wise review, was more UX end of things. So you could use a review from, I don't know, like you, Jeff, I don't know, whoever.
Yeah, I remember I reviewed this way back when it was the original port, when Al Rosekoff did it, and it actually looked pretty good back then. And Doc Wilmot's more than capable. So I don't know. Yeah, you're right that it definitely still needs review.
Yeah, Doc Wilmot was the one that is the one that is actually making the changes now, so we can't get any review from him.
Do you know why? There's something strange in here. It looks like CK Editor got replaced as part of this, which it seems really unrelated.
I didn't do a second round of reviews.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's just some unrelated things all mashed into this pull request, perhaps accidentally.
Yeah, I'll mention that to Doc Wilmot.
Okay.
When is the code freeze? Is it September 1st or around that? Is it 2 weeks before release?
Yeah, it's September 1st. And we normally, let's see what day September 1st falls on. September 1st falls on Saturday.
Yeah.
And normally if it falls on a holiday, we include the holiday or sometimes even the day after the holiday. I don't really know about it landing on a Saturday. We do normally allow all of the first to be like included, like for being the last day. So
maybe allow the entire weekend so that people just.
Yeah, I think that would probably be fair. That we'd go till the end of Sunday. I know it's so strange that we schedule things. It's like, oh well, the weekend kind of counts as extra time to do development work. Yeah. But yeah, I think that would be kosher. I mean, it would be kind of in line with what we have been doing.
Yeah. Last minute things.
Yeah, last minute things, totally. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to the agenda. I've lost it here in my tabs. Okay. Let's see. Other things. Let's see. Let's turn over to Jeff to talk about two things: backdrop for good, and also talking about meeting up with new core committers.
Backdrop for good. We got some interest from folks at Hack for Western Mass who are going to partner up with us and do some work on that. So I fleshed out some issues so that they could get some started on some easy ones and some harder ones because there's capable folks in that group. So that's good. That meeting will be coming up this month. So I hope they make some progress there, and that's a good partnership. And then core committers, Dr. Wilmot and I met to go over process and find gaps in process and talk about the whole thing. And as part of that, he made a PR against the backdrop issues repo, and we went through that workflow, and that was great. And so we have some documentation there. And about an hour later, I think it was Laren filed a PR that's like fixing spelling mistakes, which is great. But you'd think that between Doc Wilmot and I, we could spell, but apparently not. But anyways, that's the nature of open source. I'm glad he filed a PR about that. So in terms of process, we got through that test workflow against the backdrop issues queue. We didn't get to one against backdrop. And we got about halfway through the technical implementation details that we wanted to. So we need to schedule follow-up, but things went very well, and we're still optimistic.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm taking a look at it now, like where this actually ended up. So did we add it to the procedures directory?
Yes, yes.
And choose an issue, make sure it meets coding standards, make sure its logic is sound. Automated tests, pull down the PR, test locally, commit. Yep, that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I'd hoped to be a part of that meeting, but Friday I was in the middle of Drupal Camp Colorado, so.
Very nice.
And
awesome.
here's to hope that this will increase exponentially now that from the moment that we have 3 core committers, more can be onboarded.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And writing down this process is, it'll accelerate this for everybody else. Really, because our objective with Backdrop had always been to have a large number of core committers, and we've been kind of struggling along with Jeff and I. And Doc Wilmot kind of is a official but uninformed core committer, and so really formalizing that will really increase our velocity quite a bit, I think, because feedback from people with authority is key to moving the project forward. So excellent. Let's see. There's also this last item here in general discussion and Q&A about local meetups. Who is it that added this to the agenda?
That was me. So that just came from our last meeting for community outreach. I created a new topic. for forums called local meetups and events, or meetups and events. And so if anyone wants to start collecting people in their local area to have a meetup, I would recommend putting a post there. And I also put a post up about Bad Camp, which is an upcoming Drupal event. It's going to have a backdrop summit, just asking anyone who's going to be there what they want to see at that summit. So if anyone wants to weigh in on those items, this is the forum.
Jen, now that I remember this, I tried to set up my backdropcms.org profile and add country where I'm in. And I think only the US and another country was allowed. Like there's a process of you need to add. Like I actually went as an administrator and added another country or something like that.
Huh.
It would be nice if we set it up properly. I know there was a problem that by default it was set to Afghanistan or something. I remember that. But once we get it right, it would be good to see which people have subscribed to newsletters and then send a message out and say, can you please update your region or country? This will make it easier for people like myself to like look for people in the same area. And if they are subscribed to newsletters, tell them, you know, hey, you seem to be in the same area. We're thinking to do this and that.
Huh. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that.
Out of curiosity, Jen, the forum doesn't actually have the ability to have sub-topics, does it? Like it's just the top level one?
Because that's just taxonomy.
Oh. So when we were talking earlier about having one for translations, could we have a subtopic per language?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Back to the previous topic, Jen, I remembered now that the drop-down field that allows you to specify country is a multi-select, and only like 2 countries were selected. I added Australia, but I don't know why we don't allow every country.
Yeah, I feel like that might have gotten broken at some point. And maybe you're right, it is related to the default Afghanistan thing, but
I thought that it was done for some reason, so I was hesitant to add all countries, so I added just mine to just get my profile updated. But I don't see why. Yeah, I forgot to mention that in previous meetings.
Okay. Is that it? Are we done?
yeah.
Yep.
Everybody's like too busy like working to actually like pay attention to the meeting. So okay. Well, this has been really exciting. Thank you everybody for the updates. I'm really excited to hear about the translation server progress. That is really stellar. New core committers coming on, all of our featured things moving towards completion, you know, with weeks like left in the release cycle. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time to be backdrop right now. So thank you everybody for joining the meeting again this week. And thank you everybody for watching. See you guys on the internet.
Bye.
Bye.